Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's Danny Limelight. And I need all of you to subscribe to According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and all other platforms.
What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of having an entrant to Josh Barnett's Bloodsport 6. But that's not all. She is a creative director to a lot of the awesome visual stuff that you see in your favorite promotions, as well as Exodus on WoW Superheroes. She's the one and only Kaz. Kaz, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going? Thank you for having me on your show tonight. Jeez, I don't even know what time it is.
Yes, no, it's a time wherever it is in the world in which you are, because it's funny. I just recently kind of got into it, where like realizing people that might view this thing might not be in my time zone. So I've been doing like the Eastern, the Central, and then somebody in like Scotland, and I'm like, oh, Scottish time. I don't know.
Okay. You just have to list them all, just in case. Cover it all, you know?
I want to, but I'm not as prolific as you. Speaking of covering it all, again, pro wrestling, digital creation, like all of this stuff, moving from Australia, your native, to here to the States, like all of it. So, like, how did this kind of creative journey happen for you?
A creative journey. I mean, I feel like that's asking like who I am as a person. Like, I just feel like being a creative is something that I don't know how to be any other way, if that makes sense. I actually saw this, and I posted it on my Instagram story a couple of days ago, but I saw this quote by David Bowie that basically said that if you're a creative person that doesn't have an outlet for your creativity, you're not really being like a useful human or like true to yourself or something along those lines. It was like, obviously said a whole lot more like, eloquent than I just put it, but that's basically how I feel as a creative person. I just have this thing within me that I just kind of need to get out, and it takes on all different forms. My day job, I guess you could call it that, is within the realms of television and broadcast and advertising, so that creative energy manifests itself there. But my passions are, lay within martial arts and MMA and pro wrestling, of course. So, again, another manifestation of that sort of energy within me. Like, I just need to kind of get it out there, and like I just find different ways and different tools to express that. For a good part of my life, I played bass in a punk rock band. So that was the energy that was manifested in that time of my life, which, doesn't sort of take so much precedence now in my life. But yeah, so, I always just needed to find something to like do or make or just create. Like, and if I'm not doing that, then I really don't feel like I'm fulfilling myself or like my purpose. I know that just sounds so incredibly like existential and large, but yeah, to sum it all up.
But I think it's great, because usually, when you think about like tortured artists, right? It's usually, folks that are, they have this like essence kind of elicting out of themselves, like exuding out of themselves, and they either don't have a way to get it out, right, a medium in which to get it out. Also, they might not be appreciative in the monetary sum, where I mean, a lot of our favorite artists and most like exonerated artists that we have throughout the history of and pantheon through time were usually never appreciated during the time that they actually lived.
Such is the struggle of the artist, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think I've been pretty fortunate in that, I've found mediums in which I can sustain myself with my creativity, and, being able to, be quite successful in some of those avenues. But it's definitely not something that I set out to do to, make a quick buck, or like knowing that I was going to, be able to do this to make a living. I did it because I just felt like I just didn't want to waste my time or energy doing something that I just didn't really feel connected to me. I don't know, that seems very ethereal, but like that's basically it.
But again, I think it's amazing that you've been able to do that. And again, to say that you're fortunate, it's it's not even pretentious, because again, you've had struggles right through your art. And I mean, imagine, were you the gal in class that, rather than maybe doing your studies or maybe doodling in your notebook or what have you?
I'm constantly doodling. I feel like it's my way of actually paying attention. I actually read this study somewhere that when you're in a meeting and you're doodling, you're actually retaining a lot more information. So I used to just constantly just like find any scraps of pieces of paper or whatever, and just like make shapes and make lines and make just patterns. And I didn't really know what could come with it, which is probably why I didn't ever go down the traditional like artist path of like, portraits or life, still life or anything like that, or like any sort of traditional fine art mediums, because I was never good at illustrating anything that like realistic. It was always very abstract and just concepts. And I guess at a young age I couldn't really translate that into something that could be a career until sort of I actually did 2 years of like a sociology degree before I decided I actually wanted to pursue something a little bit more creative. At university. So that's when I switched to actually a design degree. So, I actually didn't even start down the path of like a creative journey like at first, because I mean, whoever knows what they want to do like straight out of high school, right? It's just like, I feel like it's a pretty select few group of people that just know exactly what they want to do, and they just head down that path, and then 60 years later they're still doing that thing. I mean, kudos to them. Like, that's just amazing to have that sort of like the fortitude and drive to just go down that one path. But like my brain just does not work that way. So I kind of had to figure out what I did want to do in order to get to what I am currently doing, which is not even really aligned with what my original university degree was anyway. Like I graduated with a major in textiles and graphics, but didn't really even touch on the textiles part of things. I just moved straight down like the graphic arts route, and just kind of went from there, I guess.
No, but I mean, being an artist, right? That's kind of a long, strange trip. That's usually what produces some of the best art and work. Usually under some static, right? I mean, a piece of coal without pressure isn't a diamond, right?
Exactly.
Theoretically and literally, right? So it's cool. Like, I mean, even for me, like my mom, we were kind of talking off air, like my maternal grandfather did broadcasting in Fiji, and my mom wanted me to do that. And I was like, no, like I'm part Polynesian, part African descendant of slaves. I'm going to be a wrestler. I'm going to be a giant. I'm going to go wrestle in Japan until my knees blow out. And then I'll probably settle into some commentary spot somewhere. And then when the growth spurt didn't happen, and then I wanted to go to like the Air Force, turns out my dad was a musician. And the music, even though he played jazz music, he was kind of a busker, a street performer in San Francisco. He would sit us in like me and my sister on like amplifiers that were like, PV amplifiers, 2 foot tall and whatever. So by the time I went for my kind of, the assessment test, the physical test for the military, I had a 52% hearing loss. That means, yes, I could hear less than I could actually hear.
Wow.
But here I am. It took 15 years to kind of come back to this. My parents have gone, my grandparents have gone, and whatever. But like, this is what the very thing that I was kind of running away from is the way that I've set a course for the last couple of years to get the most like expectancy out of my life, and I guess what is it, like value creation?
Yeah, and it's interesting you brought up the point about the friction and that being part of the artist's journey, because I could relate that directly to how I even got into like martial arts and like my attraction to that, because martial arts is all about opposing forces and conflict, and then an art form is created out of that. So it made so much sense that I just fell in love with that journey. And I guess surface level you wouldn't really see it as like an art form, but when you break it all down, like the movement and the fluidity and just it's just a beautiful violent dance.
Yes.
And that's I feel like that's where like it fits into, I guess, my kind of world of like being a creative person, but like just now I just have this other medium which is like an opposing force, but then myself within that sort of equation, and like what can come out of that. And for anyone that's like ever trained in like jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, which is like like my main thing, that's how I see it. That's how I see Brazilian jiu-jitsu, is like what are the possibilities within like the tool set that you were given, but the tool set happens to be just wanting to like smash your face in and like break your arms. It's like, what can I do with this? How do I survive with this given tool set? And it all, to me, in my brain, it all kind of fits together with like everything that I do. Like even though like on the surface level, it's like how does this all come together? But I consider myself an artist above and beyond everything. But my wrestling and my martial arts is my violent art. So
Yes.
Then I have my digital art. Then I have like my my art wearing like my paintings and stuff, and just everything. I just need to get my hands on everything.
No, and that's what and it's funny because most people, again, MMA, right? The A is arts. They'll get the martial, they'll get mix and mix it all up, but not get the art behind it. And regardless of what combat sport you choose, catch wrestling, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, taekwondo, boxing, wrestling, whatever the hell Davidson Figueiredo is doing in the Amazon of Brazil, right? It's all, theoretically speaking, done on a canvas.
Yeah.
Same thing with an artist, right? Blank template, whether it be a digital form, whether it be actual canvas, clay, whatever, that is your canvas to do as you see fit. But most people forget it.
Yeah, and I guess want to make that as obvious as possible with everything that I do. So it comes full circle, I guess, in a way.
No, it really is, which makes you really uniquely suited for, again, a week from tomorrow, Josh Barnett's Bloodsport 6. That's, or is it Friday?
It's less than a week away, yeah. It's
less than a week away. See?
4th of April, Thursday, 4th of April, 8th of April, 4th, 8. Sorry. Thursday,
4/8, 2021. Yeah.
Getting all my numbers and days and months and everything mixed up. Thursday, 8th of April.
Yes.
That's it.
There it is.
Considering the amount of time I spent in a broadcast, I should be way better at communicating an exact day, date, and time of an event. But here I stand, just fumbling my words.
No, because here's the thing. You grew up on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
And again, that's the way the dates are. Like, I remember my mom having like the most troublesome fucking time because she'd be like, 4th April. And people would look at her like, what the fuck? Right? And here's the deal. Easter, for whatever reason, is this Sunday, the 4th. I don't understand that because usually it's like second week of April or what the fuck? So again, you're not alone.
Yeah. A world of confusion out there.
I think what the Genesis said it best, right? Land of confusion. There you
go. Yeah, pretty much. Genesis is actually my tag team partner in WoW Women Wrestling.
Yes.
So there it is, full circle. Yes. Come back around.
That's why I laid that in there. I'm just saying. Like wrestling puns are very, very funny. Right? Now, in your kind of introduction to martial arts, what was the discipline that you first got into?
I actually first started training in Japanese jiu-jitsu, a discipline called Shinbudo, and it was a very sort of like, it was a mixed style of like different Japanese disciplines. So it was kind of like a mixed martial art in itself, but it was a very like kind of small group of practitioners back home in Australia, and I started that about 15 years ago, and that incorporated a lot of like striking and like kicks and strikes, but as well as the ground component. But the ground component was what really made me realize like that's all I wanted to do, like all the time. I wasn't interested in standing and striking at all. I just wanted to get everything to the ground and just wrestle in pajamas pretty much. So I studied that for I think about 3 years. I got to about a brown belt rank in that before deciding I just wanted to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu like just all the time. So I transitioned over to BJJ, and then have kind of stuck with that ever since. So that's basically been my journey. I did a little bit of Muay Thai and kickboxing, like kind of peppered in there throughout the years, but nothing ever really like consistently. Like my base was always Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I've always just been completely obsessed with it ever since the first day that I stepped on the mats and gripped a gi. So and like I attained my black belt on just over a year ago now. So it was actually right before the pandemic like really just went into like full lockdown mode. It was March 14th, 2020 that I got my black belt, and the day after the world was like, nope, we're not going to do anything, can't train, can't go to the shops, can't go to the movies, can't do anything. And I'm like sitting here with my fresh black belt going, I just want to freaking use this thing. I want to go out and like, be a black belt, and I can't even do that. And it was like, cool, that's great, thanks universe. But slowly as we started to get a little bit more comfortable with things, and we were able to create little like training pods and stuff like that. But yeah, so that's kind of like my journey summed up in about a minute and a half.
Well, I mean, I thought I had a pretty bad deal like the pandemic, because like I was actually on my way to a weigh-in for fights, right, at Commerce Casino for Lights Out Extreme Fighting, and that was Thursday the 12th. And between me driving down 20 minutes down the 5 to Commerce Casino from where my place was, it was no fights. And even more so, March, I want to say 10th, I was like, yeah, I'm going to go and do jiu-jitsu again. I have these weird deals where I trained, the first time I trained, 6 months, John Machado, black belt, husband and wife. Both of them, John Machado, black belt, all in gi. Then didn't train for 2 years. End up at Fight Academy in Pasadena, California. And now I'm doing striking. I'm doing all of it, doing no gi. And it's all this awesome stuff. And really started like my career in terms of this stuff, like producing like promos for, helping produce promos for a lot of fighters and everything like that. And then basically haven't trained for 4 years, and I was just like, I'm going to 10th Planet Pasadena, like sign me up and whatever. And then the fucking pandemic. Yeah, man. Yeah. So, but you're the black belt. I'm still a shit white belt. Like you black belt, that hurt. That stings a little bit more.
It was, and I have been training with my coach Cabrinho, who is like, multiple time world champion, Hall of Famer in the IBJJF Hall of Fame, and just was so proud to like wear that belt around my waist, and just had to. And the world was just like, nope, not gonna do that, not gonna let you do that. But now a year on, I get to go out and test my skills out in the fierce kumite of Bloodsport. So against another black belt who's very skilled in her craft of Taekwondo, and I believe she's quite skilled in Muay Thai as well. So super excited about testing black belt versus black belt, and very much like I think of like the old school UFCs where they used to actually pit these different martial arts up against each other and see what would come of it. And that's why I'm like so excited about the matchup next week, because it genuinely feels like we are harking back to like the origins of what combat sports, or the sort of current inception of combat sports looks like. Back in in '93 UFC 1, like you've got like your Taekwondo black belt up against your Hoist Gracie. So yeah, that's how I'm really excited about being able to utilize my skill set at the moment.
No, and I think it's great. And it's funny because a lot of people will talk about, oh, I don't watch current day UFC because I liked it when like people dug their fingers into their eye and it's like that never happened, but in their minds it happened, right? But it's of that time where I think Josh Barnett, in his infinite wisdom, has kind of gotten that old school pan place feel, gotten that like Bushido fucking feel for Bloodsport. Yeah, it's just amazing. And again, for those who don't know, that thinks, oh, it's somebody, Josh Barnett just putting a couture wrestling show. No. Josh Barnett loves wrestling, and he handpicks everyone on the Bloodsport card. And if you get a chance, if you're in town, you're rolling with the War Master and the whole crew.
And I've had the amazing opportunity to be able to train with Josh, and it is just so much knowledge and so much great, such a great experience to train under someone with like that kind of like understanding of not just wrestling, but like of combat sports, of fighting, like what it is to like get in there and to be a fighter, and what you're doing out there. We're not performing, we're going out there to fight. We are fighters, and every single person on the Bloodsport card is legitimately a fighter. So anyone that wants to argue any differently, please come and argue that with me. Because, yes. But that's basically my understanding of like the premise of it is that that's what we're doing. We're going out there to fight. So when you watch wrestling, what is wrestling? What is professional wrestling? It is a display of combat. What we are doing is a display of combat. So
yes, like a violent display of power. That's it. Kind of taking from Pantera a little bit, but it's a vulgar display of power. That's exactly what it's supposed to be. And again, wins and losses. This is what kind of made me a fan of pro wrestling, right? Where there's actual stakes, like euphemisms that Gorilla Monsoon used to make, like, hey, if this person doesn't win this match, they're not going to the pay window. I, as a kid, was like, holy shit, they're not gonna eat, they're not gonna do anything if they don't win this match. Fuck, they gotta win this match. And it made it, the wins and losses matter, right? You're getting into a fight. There have to be, I guess, like terms and conditions of the art of war that people can understand and you can translate. And it's just like, this is why it's important. Because if not, guess what? What does the fight matter?
Exactly. Why would I bother putting my body on the line to go in there against someone who is trying to basically destroy me if I'm not going out there with the exact same intention? Like, that's basically what it comes down to. Like, I'm in a wrestling ring or on the mats or whatever. I'm not going there to like see how I do. I'm going there to win. Like that's the only thing that's in my mind. So when you have that mindset, like that should be what is on display. Like, we are fighters. We are going out there to win. I'm not going out there to put on a fucking show for you. Like, if you want to see a show, go to Broadway. We're putting on a fight. You are coming to see a fight. So that's like kind of the end of the story, really. There's not really much more you can say about it.
Exactly. No, 100%. And Stephen Tatum says, gotta love Kumite, the Kumite aspect of Josh Barnett's Bloodsport. 100%. That's why I love it.
Yeah. I mean, the movie Bloodsport was one of the like the movies that I would watch like over and over as a kid. Like you know, Chong Li like being the ultimate villain of all time, in my opinion. Up there with John Kreese, but John Kreese, Chong Li, and I'm showing my age now, but like those are like the ultimate like movie villains, and you know, like I loved everything about like what the Bloodsport movie like was about, and like to see it played out in this like context is like, it's so incredible. It's so exciting to be a part of it. You know, even just as a total mark, but yeah, I'm less than a week away. I'm just like so giddy right now.
Yes, and that's the way you should be. And theoretically speaking, we're all marks. Why would you want to get your head bashed in if you didn't love the fucking thing?
Exactly.
Right? Just saying.
I'm a fucking mark for jiu-jitsu. How could you be that obsessed with something and be so driven to do the same thing every single day for 15 years if you weren't a fucking mark for it, you know?
Yes.
Sorry.
No. Speak truth. This is like, what is it, Good Friday? You're speaking truth. Yeah. This is the fucking gospel.
Dropping the truth bombs here.
Yes, truth bombs. I'm just saying. And Steve Tatum says, loving the Trejo Taco shirt. Thank you, good sir. My stylist put it together. Not.
Wow, what kind of budget you got going over there, huh?
Man,
stylist, a lighting person here, an audio person, someone on the switcher. Yeah.
Not even. Holy shit. I mean, oh man. Yeah, no. The lack of effort that I put in is actually pretty astounding. But I'm a dude. That's the gifts, right? The gifts that you had this kind of artistic mindset and you kind of went against the grain, right? Those are your truths. So, the fact that you fell in love 15 years ago, it wasn't vogue for a female to be training Brazilian jiu-jitsu when you started, right? Or any Japanese jiu-jitsu, any of it. And I love that you even started in Japanese jiu-jitsu because, again, motherfuckers forgot, and nothing against Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but there's other grappling sport. We mentioned Davidson Figueiredo, catch wrestling, sambo. There's so many different styles and whatever, and that to kind of put it together and harkening back to those old school UFCs. Well, that's the thing. What works? Does the fucking guy with the one touch and you fly 300 feet? Does that work? You've seen it. Doesn't.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry.
There might be some dude out in the woods somewhere, just like perfecting that 1 inch like punch, and he's just waiting for his time to shine, or she's waiting for her time to shine. Like we don't know. I'm not gonna completely eliminate that like from the realms of possibility.
You're too kind, but I've seen a lot of what is it? Those Mech Dojo Instagram pages with the portly gentleman, right? And he's just sitting on a chair, and then he's just like, and then they fucking fly. I'm just like, what in the fuck is that? That doesn't work at Bloodsport. Josh Barnett's Bloodsport.
You never know. I'm not going to rule anything out. I'm sorry. I'm not giving away anything. I'm not going to rule anything out. If I can see a tap on the shoulder that like completely dismantles someone, fucking A, let's go for it. Bring in that master.
Buddy from the Power Rangers. You remember they fucking dismembered when you hit him in the fucking chest? Let's see that happen. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying that within the realms of possibility,
anything's possible.
Yeah, it could materialize.
Yeah, which this is kind of fun because obviously you have your Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, pursuits and what have you, but the presentation that we got of you in pro wrestling was that of WoW, WoW Superheroes, which is completely couldn't be like the greater dichotomy of pro wrestling from Bloodsport and WoW, but this is both things you fit pretty effortlessly.
WoW has been instrumental in my journey because it taught me so much about the communication of the story with movement, like within, you know, again, a different canvas being within the ring. And, you know, how do you tell, like me learning the language of that sort of like art form was challenging, coming from a very, you know, structured martial arts background,
right.
and coming in and just learning to tell a different story in a different way. And, you know, that's what I loved about that. It was very much, you know, physically and mentally challenging, because I almost had to unlearn a lot of things in order to learn a new language. And I was, you know, blessed with the opportunity to be able to be part of the WoW Superheroes. And it was just, yeah, it's just a different sort of like manifestation of like something that I wanted to do. Because as soon as I got in that ring and started understanding, like, or seeing what was going on, trying to understand it, I'm like, I love this. I want to be a part of it, and I want to learn this. And like, you know, I'm obviously still learning it. Like, I'm, you know, nowhere near being able to say that like I've mastered the language or anything like that. But it just became like a different way to like tell story with movement and with body form, and, you know, with other bodies, you know, around me, sort of thing.
No, 1000%, and it's again uniquely suited, and especially this incarnation of WoW Superheroes. Grateful to be friends with, you know, Michelle or Dagger, right? Or Keith, or Kita Rush, right? Actually, the last tapings, Kita was like, "Hey, I was like, hey, the tapings are on my birthday," and she was like, "Here's your birthday present," and got me tickets to the taping. So it's just like, all wrestling I love, and even further, you want to know something funny? Well, I went to Inglewood High School, right, in Inglewood, California, and like our home arena is the Forum, the Great Western Forum, now the Fabulous Forum, right? And during the time that I was in high school, I was in ROTC, and whenever the community didn't want to pay for like full-on security, especially at the Forum, because they were owned by a church at that time. They didn't want to pay for like, you know, legit security, event staff or whatever. They just kicked a grand check to the Inglewood High ROTC, and off we went, right? So I actually attended almost all of the first incarnation of WoW, right? Yes, and then even further, where that made a difference was we also got tasked to be extras in the first Spider-Man, and that scene was actually none other than Macho Man Randy Savage, Tobey Maguire, and Bruce Campbell.
Awesome.
Well, three of the gals, the ones that were talking shit to Spider-Man, right? Well, I believe it was Disciplinarian, Jungle Girl, and Terry Gold.
Right.
Yes.
The OG girls. Oh, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So in between takes and everything, or we'd go to lunch or whatever, they knew us already. They're like, "Hey, want to meet Tobey Maguire?" And at that point, we were like, the guy from like, what is it, Pleasantville? Okay, like, cool. He was cooler than shit. Than shit, Tobey Maguire, right?
So cool.
Yeah. And then Bruce Campbell, and he's all in the gimmick and whatever, but cooler than shit. A lot, like the fringe, like art house kids, they knew him from Boba Hotep and all of these, you know. And cool. And then they're like, "You want to meet Macho Man?" And I probably shit myself, but he couldn't have been cooler. That he really, him and DMX, who I've met, that is not a gimmick. That is actually them. Macho Man literally talks like that. Can I get more mustard? Like that. Like he's in it. There's no cameras rolling, but couldn't have been sweeter. We had our little disposable cameras and shit. I don't know where mine went or whatever, but
man, imagine finding that in that film role and developing that like all these years later, being like, "Kiss me with Macho Man."
Yes, well,
that would be so cool.
And then full circle, right? Keita gets you the tickets to the taping and what have you, and then one of the people who worked on top in that first incarnation was Lana Starr. Right?
Yeah, who's still part of the crew.
Exactly. That's why at the bar after the tapings, people were waiting for like Rob Van Dam. I was like, no,
Yeah.
Lana Star, you guys don't fucking even understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
She's OG, like right up there, like right OG to the max. Very
yes,
jungle girl.
yes. Which is again, it's kind of fun because here all these years later, he's
Yeah.
friends with you. It's like, and
Yeah.
it's yeah, wow, fuck yeah, superheroes, man.
I mean, the history of WoW is like so rich and deep that, you know, a lot of people, I didn't even know that about, you know, like the Spider-Man connection or anything. Like that's
Yes,
wild. That's so cool. But you know, they've had definitely so many evolutions of obviously the cast and like all the superheroes, and just gone through so many iterations of, you know, being at the forum and, you know, with that crazy pay-per-view with the cage and everything.
yes, and I was there
So you know,
with the
like,
bump off the cage and Bobby Heenan
yeah,
kind of like pissed off. Yes,
I
I was
mean,
there.
yeah. So you know, it's a wild and crazy history, and I feel so blessed and grateful to be, you know, a part of that, even if it's, you know, only going to be like for a smidgen of time or however long, you know, I end up being a WoW superhero. But definitely so grateful to be, you know, part of that crew and learning and training with all those gals. You know, it's been wonderful. A different, very different experience to, you know, obviously something like Bloodsport, but so valuable nonetheless.
Absolutely. Now, speaking, and this, you know, after looking at it, looking at your website, your social media feeds, and everything,
Mhm.
you are even with not just your Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, not just with your Japanese Jiu Jitsu, heck, not just with like the WoW stuff, but
Mhm.
you have worked on some of the like, I mean, my favorite kind of promotional pieces for the UFC and NWA and New Japan.
Yeah.
So, how did that fall into your lap? That's fucking cool.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they were all different. They all came from different avenues. So with New Japan, that came about because I was previously an art director for the network that New Japan was on, which was Access TV.
Access, yep.
Yeah, so I was the art director there for about 4 years, and you know, one of the shows that we had during my time there was New Japan Pro Wrestling. So
Mm-hmm.
I was very fortunate to be able to brand and come up with like the you know, visual strategy for basically positioning New Japan for an American audience, and that's how I guess all that came about. Just drawing from you know, different influences, drawing from things that I remember when I came up with the look for the most recent inception of New Japan on Access before, you know, they sort of dissolved their partnership. I had just watched Blade Runner, the new Blade Runner,
Yes.
and so inspired by the environment and just the look and the feel of everything about like Blade Runner at the time. And I was like, I want to infuse this somehow into this world of like New Japan, and that's how that kind of came about. So that was like, you know, really fun because they trusted me with their vision, and you know, I was able to take that from not only just packaging the show, but also like promoting the actual show on the network and, you know, doing all the promos and stuff. But yeah, so that's how all the New Japan stuff came about. You know, we were also very fortunate to be able to work on the American productions when New Japan, you know, had the shows in the
Long
US.
Beach. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so you know, I was working in the production truck, coordinating all the graphics that, you know, came on air throughout the show. You know, I love working live at events like that. It was just like such a great thrill. Uh, just because, you know, so many crazy things just happen when you do live shows, as you know. Like it's, you know, just the thrill of live events. There's nothing compares to it. So I just loved working on all the live shows for New Japan. Also, all the MMA shows that we had on Access TV at the time as well. LFA was like, you know, our main sort of promotion that we're
Yeah.
working on working with at the time, and I was able to, you know, come up with their show graphics, their, you know, promotional graphics as well for Access TV. You know, from LFA 1 all the way through to, you know, whenever the last LFA was that was on Access TV. So yeah, that came about just from being an art director on that network. but then my relationship with the NWA started because I had met David Lagana through one of the executive producers at Access TV, and he invited me to basically conceptualize the look for NWA Power, having had discussions with Billy about what his vision was for the show, in the first couple of seasons, really taking that on board, and then infusing a lot of that original NWA visual legacy that is just
synonymous.
Yeah, synonymous with watching that show, is like the graphics and like the whole visual package. So trying to marry all of that together, but for like a keeping that sort of retro feel, but without being like kitschy or like too on the nose, like, hey, here's a retro graphics package, like just wanted to make it feel like it was from the time, but not too derivative at the same time. Like, I don't know, it was this kind of like crazy balance, and I was really happy with the way that everything came about with that, and I just felt like it just married with the content really well, and I loved working with the NWA when I had the chance to work with him. And it's a great promotion, obviously. Like, the legacy of that is just without words. Oh, there you go. You understand.
Yeah. I totally understand. Absolutely. Yeah. No, and
right there.
Yes, and the crazy thing about it was, it's a delicate dance, right? Is how do you honor the legacy but also chart a new path? And I love that point for the time that Power was in existence, right? It was, and the shows on Fight was the fact that WWE was doing this, right? AEW was kind of like, what are they gonna do, right? And then kind of sliding in under the radar, kind of fulfilling everybody's whims of that time period, and that sense of affinity, of nostalgia and whatever, kind of slid in with like, again, anybody that, it's almost like Bloodsport, right? Anybody that wants that old school UFC feel, well, guess what? We got you. Right? Oh, I don't watch WWE. I like NWA. Okay, cool, because we got you.
Yeah, and I think they did a fantastic job with, picking the talent that kind of worked within that TV wrestling style, which is, is very a TV studio wrestling style, which is, wrestling has all different styles, and all of it works for whatever like context you're in. And I loved what they were doing with how they were able to really package that with the with the studio, with the apron, with the colors, like with the graphic. It felt like, and then I started becoming like, just hearing that little like the intro to the show every Tuesday, which is like, you're like, oh, I would get excited.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can say the fire. I would get goosebumps.
Yeah.
Like, goosebumps listening to it, and then the graphics of all the things. And again, thinking about a kid that grew up around the Carolinas or in Georgia and knew that, and now they're older, and what it must be for them to kind of get, because in many respects, even WCW kind of left them by the wayside, right? Like WWE, once they absorbed everything else, like you didn't get your local wrestling, especially Atlanta, my goodness. And then you guys went right back in. Like, it's just incredible.
Yeah. I'm so happy that they're continuing that journey and going down that, keeping that formula, and forging ahead with it. It's fantastic.
Absolutely. So, Bloodsport's happening next Thursday, less than a week away, right? You are, like you said, you're skilled in mat grappling, striking, and everything, but as is your opponent of that night. So, what interesting, especially as an artistic person, right? Obviously, the materials are probably going to be blood, like the canvas is going to be blood and guts. But as an artistic person, how do you see this fight going, and how do you guys match up well?
I mean, it's just your classic striker versus grappler scenario, you know. I know my strengths. I know my strengths are going to be with my grips, with my takedowns, you know, with my submission holds, positional control. I know her strengths are going to be at a distance, using her limbs to like be the points of attacks, you know. So my approach to it is not trying to play that game, because I know I'm not going to have that sort of standard of, you know, skill set that she has. So I'm going to see what basically she's giving me, what she's attacking me with, and utilizing that within my skill set. So almost like if I was to parallel it with a a creative, more of a traditional creative like platform or medium. Sometimes, like when I like am given artwork from someone else to then make into my own, I kind of say it like that. What kind of art are you giving me to make my own? You know, like there's always these like creative challenges where it's kind of like you get artwork that's passed on from artist to artist to, like, you know, turn into your own thing. I kind of see it like that, like, but it's going to be like a back and forth, like a call and answer, a call and responsive. Like, you're going to give me something, I'm going to do something with this. And then what are you going to do with it? How are you going to be creative with this? You know, what I'm giving you in return. So it's not going to be, and this is how I see martial arts as well. I don't see it as force to force. It's like force, how do I work around that to then get a control position, you know? Like, I'm going to work around your strengths to then get my strength above yours, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect
Yeah.
sense. No, that makes perfect sense. And it's funny because you kind of, earlier you were saying, damn it, I don't get to use my black belt, but you're going to get to use it in the best way possible
Yeah,
at
absolutely.
Bloodsport.
Yeah. And so excited to be able to go up against another skilled black belt. You know, we're out there to to show our skill set, you know, in the best possible platform to the probably, you know, the biggest possible audience. And I just honestly feel like you are not going to see anything like it anywhere else, because I don't believe that there's anyone out there that can do what I can do. And I'm going to go out there, and this is going to be my chance to show that. I've had pretty limited opportunities, you know, in my wrestling career, my combat career, to really showcase the full extent of my skill set. You know, so this opportunity is going to be the one that I am absolutely going to throw everything into to make sure that you are not going to forget the KCT.
But that's exactly what it's expected. And you know, and it's funny because, you know, first with Matt Riddle and then now with Josh Barnett, that's exactly what the paying audience wants to. We've got to follow this. This is the sixth incarnation of Josh Barnett. There was, you know, there was the Matt Riddle one before, but this is the expectation. This is, you know, Barnett versus Suzuki. We're getting on top. We got Barnett versus Moxley. We've waited a year for it. Funny enough, and I had Chad George earlier, and I was actually there at CMMA. Chad was preparing for his retirement fight at Lights Out Extreme Fighting, right? And then Josh, he had a camera crew, and I was like, oh, Bellator, right? And then I saw the roles and everything like that, and I think it was like maybe a month or two later, and I see it, and I was like, no fucking way, I was there, and I didn't even know.
Yeah.
I was literally there in the
Ninjas.
lobby.
Yeah. Yep. Ninja styles, right? Like,
I'm just saying, but I did again. Just you know, like kayfabe, fucking fave, man.
I don't know what kayfabe is. I'm sorry.
Okay, it's keep it close to the vest.
I live my truth. That's all I can say. I don't know what a
There you
kayfabe
go.
is.
Hey, there you go. I like it. I fucking love it. Hell yes. No, and again, for those who haven't seen Kaz in a ring on the mats, right? What are they going to expect out of you come Thursday?
They are going to see a beautiful execution of the discipline that I have poured my heart, my soul, my body into for more more than half my life. So, is another expression of that creative energy within me put on full display in the most violent fashion.
I love it. I love it. Now, obviously, training with your black belt under Cabrina, right? You have all of these artistic. I mean, it's literally like 311 says. It's a beautiful disaster because it's amazing and it's destructive and what have you. Who do you look to anyone like in terms of like favorite grapplers, pro wrestlers? Who do you draw inspiration from?
I draw my inspiration in those kinds of realms from a lot of different sources and for different reasons. The first one that comes to mind is Minoru Suzuki, who to me is the practitioner that embodies everything that I want to be as like a violent artist. He is the scariest looking dude. Like if you were to ever come face to face with him, I've had the very blessed opportunity to have met him, and he is indeed very scary. But he lives that, he walks that, he goes out there and he communicates that with not even like he doesn't even have to do anything and he's already exuding that, but then he goes out there and does it, and it is so violent and but so technical at the same time. And how could you not be completely just like captivated when someone like that is doing their thing, So to me, like I absolutely try and not model, but just like I want that energy like within me when I go out there. Within jiu-jitsu, like obviously my sensei Cobrinha is like my biggest influence in terms of like my style. But I love the Lucas Sapri, like the way like his passing style is like so just energetic and dynamic, and it's just it's incredible to watch. And I love watching what Gordon Ryan has been doing with evolving the sport. So there's so many people that are just taking on this art form and making it their own, and it's so captivating, and there's so much you can learn from it, and always a source of inspiration to be found out there. Like even if it's only like a tiny little smidgen of like information you can garner from it, I think it's just so valuable, like to appreciate it and to appreciate as a fan, but also appreciate as like a practitioner as well. So I guess those are like the main three that come to mind when I think of just inspiration, but 3 or 4 kind of.
Yeah, no, I love it. Casanina Ray, that's what I gotta say. Yeah, man. And
goosebumps every time.
yes, and it's so, and that's again like talk about beautiful destruction, right? The beautiful disaster. The song is so elegant and eloquent or whatever, but when you hear that pipe through the walls of anywhere New Japan is, somebody's gonna die. That's just what's gonna happen.
That's what you're feeling in your heart when that beautiful like just melody and like the crowd is just like when we had crowds and stuff obviously, but when the crowd is like just so deep with their voices just all in like synchronicity, and it's such a beautiful feeling, and that there's just going to be this beautiful display of violence that's going to happen right in front of you. It's like I love it.
Yeah, and it's funny because with all the pomp and circumstance that Jericho's getting for Judas and everything at AEW, well, again, Suzuki was doing that like almost a half decade, if not a decade before you. So, sorry, Jericho. Sorry. Just saying. Sorry, not sorry. Just saying. And Steven Tatum is saying, looking forward to see the spirit bomb of discipline descend on Josh Barnett's Bloodsport. I agree, as am I. My goodness.
Me too. Yeah.
So obviously, Kaz, as you're ready for Bloodsport, all right, but that is just a small part of your journey as an artist, right? So take as long as you need. Let's get some shout outs out of the way. Anybody and everybody, take as long as you like. This is your time.
To shout out, sorry, I didn't understand the question.
Oh, to shout out everybody that's made Kaz as you ready to draw blood at Bloodsport.
I want to obviously give props to Josh Barnett for giving me this amazing opportunity. It has literally, I hate using that word, literally. It has been on the top of my the goal list ever since I sat in that audience of Bloodsport 2 years ago at White Eagle Hall in New Jersey and watching that all unfold before my eyes. I hadn't even stepped into the ring at that point, and I saw this and I thought to myself, this is a culmination of everything that I've ever done in my life played out right here, and I want to be a part of this. I want this to be my canvas. And so obviously very grateful for the opportunity to, show off my skill set. That's really it leading up to Bloodsport. Like, obviously forever grateful to my coach Cabrinha for giving me the skill set. And I mean, I'll be wearing that cobra very proudly, invisibly on my back, subliminally tattooed into my back forever. But representing that cobra, very high and mighty. So, but yeah, I'm just looking forward for the opportunity to just go out there and just put on that beautiful display of violence.
Yes, damn right. I almost feel like, especially when Bloodsport comes around, I feel like that guy in the early UFC, just bleed. That's what I feel like.
I want that energy. I want everyone to have that energy out there.
Or fucking Brock Lesnar guy.
Just veins popping and just crushing beer cans. Yeah.
Yes. So obviously, for those who want more of Kaz as you head into battle for Bloodsport 6, where can they find you on social media?
At Hey Karen Tran. That's it. Twitter, Instagram. Those are really the two main platforms that I use. So go and hit me up there. And if you want a see gratuitous training selfies, plenty of them there. So.
Yes, 100%. And again, it's going to be a beautiful display of violence. I can't wait for Bloodsport. Again, like less than a week away. Next Thursday, in Florida, right? This is Ybor City, Tampa.
Yep. Beautiful Florida.
Yeah.
There I come.
Aside from I agree with you. Aside from the fucking crocodiles, how the fuck are you gonna let like little descendants of dinosaurs loose? Holy fucking shit!
If you think too much about crocodiles, I feel like you will escape down a very dark hole of like, why are these things? Why are they? So I just don't think too much about crocodiles because I'm just like, your basic like evolution, and then you're this now. Like, I bet you could very much just like gulp us in like 2 bites. And
yeah. So it's better that we fucking segue out of the fucking crocodile talk. So again, good skill, Kaz, as you head into Bloodsport. I'm going to be watching, cheering you on. This is going to be amazing. Again, the entire card stacked top to bottom. Again, there's other wrestling shows going on that week, but this one is my pick for one to watch. So I cannot wait. Kaz, thank you so much for doing it.
Thank you so much for having me on your show. And Look at that, 59:32, right on the money with the hour-long time limit. I love it. Professionalism at its finest
I'm just
within
saying.
broadcast.
Yes, thank you. But again, a hearty thank you goes to you guys there for joining us here at According to Woods. And if you haven't already done so, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I mean, Kaz, you're subscribed to the podcast, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely. They're
Hell
hitting that
yes.
subscribe button like mad. You know,
Oh,
everyone go
right
out
now.
and do that.
Damn right. So Kaz is doing it. That's what you should be doing. I'm just saying. But
mash those buttons.
mash those buttons, hit the bell, all the jazz, and you'll see Kaz right in the catalog of all of the awesome podcasts. And also, we've been talking about Barnett. Barnett's mostly here, and people from previous Bloodsports and all that jazz. So again, it's a fun wormhole to go down. So go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. Kaz, thank you so much. And if you don't believe me, you don't believe Kaz, well, here's Professor Zeta Zhang also well.
Hey, this is Zeta Zhang. Make sure you